Hey, little brother, welcome back. Looks like something's bothering you. All right, what's on your mind? Peers are being pricks toward you, huh? They've already barked about your interests, your hobbies, your possessions. So I'd say the only other subjects remaining are you not having a girlfriend and possibly even your virginity. How did I know? Because I've been in your shoes as well. And in a way, I kind of still am. Oh, yeah, I'm still a virgin. Is it really that hard to believe? Someone like me in my 30s still a virgin? And what makes it so unbelievable? Is it because you figured with my type of personality, I should have landed a mate long ago? Well, I'll tell you a few reasons why I'm still single. It's because there's a specific discipline I'm looking for. Number one, for both my mate and my own safety within our interactions. And number two, for the good of our personal development. Those require a specific level of discipline in both of us. That's why I've never copulated, and that's also why I have not considered any dating apps. Also, even though it looks like I'm just in my own little zone half the time, I'm actually observing folks. I'm examining which flags outweigh the other. The answer to that question is simple. You and I are a breed of men that don't follow the crowd, and we don't conform to the status quo. That upsets some of these people out here that do. Why? Because we cannot be controlled. We cannot be manipulated. And some of these folks on both sides have control issues. Answer me this. Did one or more of your male peers conform to the bogus taboo perception of virginity, and now they're in a situation where their partner is pregnant? Aha. So, how's that perception working out for them? So, they used a condom, but it failed. Let me explain something. A lot of these folks out here like to argue about the stats of whether or not an item or a procedure will fail to determine whether or not they actually pursue it. But there's a lingering problem with that they don't consider. They do not consider having a plan if the issue actually does materialize and how they will recover from it. And when it finally does materialize, the consequences, the risks, whatever you want to call them, are enormous in this particular subject. And when you don't have a plan for when the lower number of those stats that end up materializing, your journey will become much more difficult. And a lot of people elect to ignore this and gamble through it anyway. Then they want to bark about all of the hardships afterwards. But I think we need to go back to square one. No pun intended. The $1 trillion question, or questions, I should say. What is so disgraceful about virginity? Who first addressed it as such, and what validity does it actually have with truth and reality? Well, guess what? Neither do the folks who conform to the negative perception. And in all honesty, they don't even care. Their goal of the perception was never to find any legitimacy in addressing virginity as a disgrace. The entire goal is to nullify the guilt of making reckless decisions. Now, before the whole world gets upset that I've called their acts of engaging in hookups as reckless, let's take a moment to acknowledge that it is absolutely true that they have the right to choose what they do with their bodies and their lives. Absolutely. At the same time, that right does not override the truth and reality of those decisions. Mind you, these are also the same folks who bark to others to mind their own business. You see the hypocrisy here? In copulation, especially with someone you barely know, there's always a risk of catching an STD, even if you do wear a condom, possibly sleeping with someone who ends up knowing someone we know, and the other individual that they know possibly being their sibling, maybe their daughter or son, maybe their cousin, a close friend, an ex partner, the list goes on. And neither side took the time to investigate those factors. So, how does that nullify the legitimacy of such impulses as reckless? Let's not forget one of the more common issues of the person slept with may be crazy. And if the relationship fails, fill in the blank on that kind of scenario. But again, most of these folks don't care about any of that and will do almost anything and everything just to nullify the sting of those decisions being defined as reckless. So, with all that being said, little brother, do you still have doubts about keeping your virginity? Oh, really? What debate was that among your peers? Ah, the body count argument. Well, among us men, that's one hypocrisy that I'd say we need to do our part to fix. If we are so serious about finding a wife and one of the prerequisites is for her to have a low body count, why the hell are those of us guys contributing to the numbers increment with the ladies? Is that aiding our criteria or is that hindering it? It just doesn't make sense. Now, the argument can be addressed day in, day out that men having experience with so many women may have more value or not. But again, are the end results of those interactions stable? Or are they a huge mess of broken hearts from one side or the other? It's complete hypocrisy that us men argue about women mistreating men, but men are mistreating women and playing with their hearts as well. Doesn't matter what society says on either side. The truth and reality is the human race. I'll answer my phone in a minute. This is an important conversation right now. The truth and reality is that the human race is currently full of a bunch of reckless mindsets engaging in this stupidity toward each other. And many of us are too much of a coward to disassociate ourselves from that form of dysfunction. And then we have the audacity to bitch about the consequences. So, honestly, little brother, I'd say the primary reason I'm single and don't have a lot of friends is because many in society don't have and don't want the discipline required to be around or with someone of this caliber. Some may even declare that as arrogant. And my only counter argument is how and why. We're not the ones going around acting like some mega playboy. We're not the ones going around trying to simp on folks. And we're certainly not trying to get some 10-minute action with a complete stranger. And it's not going to happen even if we started dating. What these folks see is what they get from us. And if there's a problem, there will either be a sit down, straight and to the point to resolve it, or in the other case, if any attitude strays away from that principle without improvement, those folks are going to get the GTFO slip. So, the bottom line in this whole issue, little brother, the negative perception of virginity and the attempts to manipulate you to conform to getting rid of it, that is the fulfillment of the statement, misery loves company. Many of these folks that try to insult you about your virginity, regardless of their admission, our diligence and abstinence reminds them of the sting of their recklessness. And let me make this abundantly clear. We are not talking about the people whose virginity was stolen from them. And these folks know for an absolute fact that we are not referring to them. We are talking about the ones who made decisions of their own free will and under no duress in the context of copulation. If anyone brings up that extreme, you tell them to stop disrespecting those people by bringing them into a subject that has nothing to do with them. That is a common cop out in an attempt to nullify the entire argument. And it's a form of weaponizing those people who have been severely traumatized. That is disrespectful to them, and it's disgusting. We are talking about the folks who want to start a problem with those who have chosen to keep their virginity, and that's where the focus is to stay for the duration of the conversation. These folks know this, which is all the more reason why they got some issues. One of them being recklessness by the mere fact that they would start an argument with someone on a subject that is none of their business. There's a few answers why some people do this. For some, they just have a high libido and they want to justify it. And look, it's understandable if the libido is higher than others. Just be wise with it, is all. It is indeed human nature. Even so, it still requires discipline. Neither our ego nor our libido should ever be in control of our actions. In addition, that high libido does not need bystanders to join them, nor should it be trying to persuade anyone. And I say that to both sides of the coin. And then for some others, they're just misguided. They didn't have the people like us to encourage them that they don't have to choose only that one option, which is conformance. That it's okay to let go of the people who will not befriend them just because of their refusal to conform to that form of thinking. Copulation is a very serious activity, and it can become very addicting very, very quickly. I've seen it with so many of my peers. There are also serious psychological factors that can manifest from it, some possibly more in one gender than the other. Plus, as mentioned before, some serious health risks and even some interaction risks that can happen when misused, which in turn is consistent with the description of recklessness. The classification of something mispracticed as reckless is not us making that decision. That's nature's call. That's what a lot of these folks out here disregard. Denial of truth and reality does not nullify its authority. If a number of your peers don't want anything to do with you anymore from a simple disagreement, or in this case, nonconformance, that's their call. You're not doing anything wrong by taking your steps wisely. You don't need people in your life that inflict toxicity. You don't need that at all. The factors mentioned earlier are the overall reason I am not on the hookup and copulation wagon. Plus, I don't want my name on the street with that kind of record. I prefer keeping as much of a low profile as possible. I don't need nor want all of that attention. That's just a bunch of headaches. But overall, it's your call what you decide, little brother. It's your life. And as we've been taught, it's our life, our choice, and our choice also means our accountability for our actions. Choose for yourself which path you wish to go. And also be sure to compare the benefits and liabilities against each other with objective observation. That's all I can do for you, little brother. Anytime. I'm down for a few rounds of that. I'm not that good at Smash Bros. Yet, so this may be your opportunity to give me some pointers. Let's go.